Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points tonight: Joey Barton says the chance to join Rangers got his blood pumping. Brendan Rodgers' first task at Celtic could be to appoint a number 2, and Jose Mourinho is all set to be the special one at Manchester United. Just a few of the talking points tonight. Alan Ruff is alongside me as we head towards the end of the season. Rangers trying to get as much of their business done as they possibly can. Ruffy, Joey Barton.
Yep, it's a start. I'm sure the Rangers supporters will be happy with that signing. He's got a vast amount of experience, and it looks as if that's what he's going to build the team round about. It isn't the first time that a club's brought an older player, an experienced player in, to sort of gel everybody round about him. And I'll be hoping that he can be a big success for them.
Yeah, based on what we were talking about throughout the season, I think we've always maintained, along with the board, 4 or 5 players would come in, starters, and they'd have to be of a certain level of standing up. No disrespect to the team that won the championship, but you need to take that jump if you're going to be in the top 6 and pushing to try and win the league, which ultimately Rangers want to do.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers have proved on their day, they're as good as, but I think the manager will look at the team, obviously in the light of last week's result there, and say it's not just going to be about a game, it's going to be a consistency throughout the season, and that's something that he'll want to install in the Rangers side right for the start. It's a different level that they're going to be playing in. They're going to be playing against better players, so that's the kind of player I think the supporters will be looking, but they'll also be looking for another 4 or 5, I would think.
Yeah, but what will he bring to the midfield?
He'll bring a bit of dig, bring a bit of arrogance. I see a wee bit in sort of a Barry Ferguson in him, somebody who likes to be on the ball, somebody who likes to dominate a game. Obviously he's got a wee bit of temperament there as well, same as Barry had as well. So I think that's the kind of player they'll be looking at, and certainly in a lot of games that we've saw, he's certainly got the quality.
Yeah, Alex McLeish reckons he'll bring a few red cards.
Possibly, yep. I think the first Rangers Celtic game will be a big one. Obviously Scott Brown, who was already thrown in a 1-to-1 with Halliday, and I have to say Halliday won that one, so I think that'll be a big battle. But it remains to be seen. I think Lee Wallace will stay as the captain, but I think he'll want to play that leadership role in the Rangers side.
Yeah, if there is a downside to this, and I'm not for a minute questioning the boys' intelligence, it's the tweets. Because whereas they may well have been at times inflammatory, this city in Glasgow, can be a powder keg. You have to choose your words very carefully, especially on Twitter, and he's got, I think, over 2 million followers.
Yes, I would like to think that obviously Davy Weir, being experienced, would have a word with him. As it's a small city, and things can get taken out of hand. I would like to think he would want to live in the city. He's going to have to walk about. He's going to have to accept the banter that goes with it, and certainly any stupid tweets that are out there are just going to make life a lot more harder for him to deal with.
Yeah, this is his initial statement made to Rangers Television earlier today. It was when I first found out there was the opportunity to come up here. From that moment on, the blood was pumping. I'm fully aware of the situation the club has been in over the last few years, but to be part of the group that puts this club where it belongs was an opportunity that if I didn't take it, I would regret for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but it's a big club. It's a massive club. Fantastic support. 50,000 every week is something that any footballer would want to play under. I think he's obviously decided to himself that if he'd stayed at Burnley, he might have been a bit player, and he wants to play as many games as possible. He'll be a big player at Rangers. It's something he'll have to handle, and I'm sure he'll enjoy it.
Yeah, he got a 2-year deal. I'm not so sure Ruffy would have been a bit player. He was player of the year last year at Burnley, so I think, it's a good bit of business by Mark Warburton. I think full marks to Davy Weir for giving him the sales pitch.
No, I think if you look at the last time when Rangers, when Graham Souness was there, and they had to restructure the whole club, he went for that kind of quality. He went for tried and trusted. He went for Terry Butcher, Woods, guys who've been about the game, and they were a big success. I'm not saying that there's another 4 or 5 of them round the corner this time, but certainly he's a start, and he'll be one that he also could attract players for the English league. If people see, Joey Barton's went there, then why don't we?
Yeah, 3 players on their way out, Ruffy: Law, Clark and Templeton.
Yeah, I think they were the ones that we thought. I think there'll be more. Obviously, the contract situation, it's difficult to move players on, but certainly they will have to clear the decks if that's the kind of player they're bringing in, because he obviously demands a bigger wage. So, yep, I think there'll be another 3 or 4 around the corner.
Yep, and from Rangers across the city, Celtic, of course, over 10,000. I mean, we were listening to Brendan Rodgers on last night's programme, Ruffy, but the pictures in the morning papers of the size of the crowd for an unveiling, you know, it had that real feel of a kind of a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, didn't it?
Well, that's what Celtic and Rangers are all about. It's the expectation. The fans expect big time, and unfortunately for Ronaldinho, when he came, he wasn't big time, you know, and I don't think that the fans caught on to him. And we've saw the Celtic support being at 12 o'clock at night waiting on Roy Keane coming. We've saw Janina coming. We've seen Old Firm supporters want a taste of the big time, and they want to have that kind of day, and it's a start, but he'll know that he has to start winning games in Europe.
Yeah, and of course he's got to try and appoint a number 2. I mean, I've heard a few names bandied about. Peter Houston, Morten Weghorst. I'm sure there's a few other candidates, all maybe with a Celtic connection that might be advantageous for him to have a look at.
Yeah, I think he's knowledgeable enough to know our game, you know, and I think it might be somebody connected with the club or somebody who's been at the club, that kind of thing. But first of all, it has to be somebody that he gets on really well with. I think that's the most important thing. And again, like the Rangers supporters, the Celtic supporters will be anticipating that first signing, and the first signing always sometimes indicates the way that you're going to go.
Yeah, well, if Joey Barton mentioned that signing for Rangers got his blood pumping, then I'm sure the words of Brendan Rodgers right at the start of the press conference certainly got most of the Celtic fans' blood pumping.
Whenever I met with Peter and Dermot, they really sold the club to me. And obviously then my emotional attachment to the football club is obviously very strong and has been for many years. And then the more I thought about it, it was just, there was a draw for me here. You know, people would have talked about maybe the level, but Celtic's one of the biggest clubs in the world. And for me to come out of the Premier League, to come up to here, it's certainly not a step down. This is one of the great clubs of the world. It's an institution in its own right. So for me to come here, it's a huge honour and a privilege to be able to come and manage Glasgow Celtic.
And as you mentioned, Ruffy, the big remit is to get them into Europe. Scott Brown is quoted as saying he reckons that the arrival of Rodgers could signal some big name players on the way at Celtic.
Yeah, exactly as I was saying at Rangers. When you get a manager in there of that quality, he's obviously been down in the Premiership for a while. He's got massive amount of contacts all over the world, and again, we're looking to see what the budget is. We're looking to see what kind of players coming in, how much is he going to be. He's already touched on it. He doesn't have to be a £10 million player, but it'll have to certainly be better than some of the players that have come in the last couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of quick points before we head to the break, Ruffy. What style of football do you think, you know, we are about to witness in the Premiership next season from Celtic? Do you think it's close to the Swansea? Is it the tiki-taka type?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think you saw it with Swansea, the style of play, the kind of player he brings in there. Not too distant from the way Celtic want to play. Same at Liverpool as well. He likes quality players in there who can pass and score goals. If we could get a Suarez, I'm sure the Celtic supporters would be happy with that amount of goals.
Okay, Ruffy, you were on a really sensible run towards the end of the season there, and then you got silly. The other thing I was going to ask you is about the place where he should stay. Neil Lennon says he shouldn't stay in Glasgow. I mean, listen, I lived in Edinburgh for long enough. I couldn't think of a better city for him to stay in. Castle, romantic, walking along Princes Street. Does it get any better?
Yeah, but I think staying in the city, I mean, I know the complications that might bring, but I think you're right. There are lots of wonderful places just outside Glasgow, maybe 10 miles that are beautiful to live in.
Yeah, Edinburgh's 37, Ruffy.
Yeah.
Are you
I
buying
would
into
probably
Edinburgh?
go for Loch Lomond or Ayrshire.
Okay. Okay, well, I tried to sell Edinburgh, but it just didn't quite work for you. It'll be interesting to see where he eventually ends up. Listen, talking of Edinburgh, we are going to talk Hibernian after the break. We'll talk Callum Patterson because he could be kicking a ball in the blue of Scotland ahead of that match against Italy in Malta at the weekend. And we'll also talk about the special one as well. Jose Mourinho, all set to be unveiled at Old Trafford. A new era for Manchester United. Join us right after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. I was talking to Ruffy there while we're just doing this. You know that way I was trying to tell you something sneakily, Ruffy, before we went back on the camera. But let's crash on anyway because we've got so much to try and stack into this programme. Listen, we talked about some of the players going, some of the players coming in. Kilmarnock, what about the amount of players that they've decided to let go, and a few of them they're going to take offers for already. Mark Connolly, Connor Brennan, Lee Ashcroft, Julian Faubert, Chris Johnson, Aaron Splain, Alex Henshaw, Craig Slater's also decided to leave, and I think there's a few others that they're actually willing to listen to offers for. McCarthy, Obadiah, Higginbotham.
I think Craig Slater is one that there'll be a lot of clubs out there would fancy that young guy.
Yeah.
I thought he picked up a bad injury there for a while, got back into the first team, but I think he's definitely one that clubs like maybe Dundee, Partick Thistle would be looking at, you know. But again, you know, it's clear the decks. You know, Lee Clark's obviously got in mind the player he wants to bring into the club. There's obviously a budget, and releasing that amount of players will give him something to play with.
Yeah, I would imagine though, Ruffy, if he's going to bring in players, he's going to go for what he knows, and again, that comes with its own pitfalls.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, obviously, sometimes it's good to get players who know the league, know what's happening. But again, if you can get 2 or 3 players to come up, who they might be, you know, only he can tell us. But I always think that when you're in a club in that kind of situation, you're needing a completely fresh start. You need to get the supporters back on board again. And by doing that, you bring in players that possibly the supporters don't know, and that just gives them that wee bit of interest.
Yeah. With the added interest in our division, Ruffy, I get the feeling that suddenly I hope we don't go down a road where we're discarding a lot of Scottish players again. I can see this happening now. Rangers are back. They're going to have to sign a certain standard of players. Celtic equally so, because they've got the draw of Champions League football that they want to be a part of. And other clubs starting to just cherry pick players from abroad. I hope we don't go down a road where suddenly we're losing another generation of Scottish footballers.
No, I hope not. You know, there's enough young players broke through all the clubs in the Premiership, from Inverness, Dundee, Partick Thistle, you know, even Kilmarnock. There was some young guys came in. It'd be a tragedy if we did go down that road, because again, it depends on the quality you're bringing in. Unfortunately, some of the quality that was coming in from abroad wasn't what we were used to, you know, and you're right, the younger players were suffering. So it's also up to the younger players as well to step up to the mark and show them that they are good enough to play first team football.
Yeah, the other aspect of it as well, I can't remember who mentioned it in the last couple of days, that sometimes you are priced out of the Scottish market. I mean, Greg Stewart, if anybody's going to land him from Dundee, it's going to cost you, what, £1.5 million? That's the word from Dundee.
Yeah, well, I thought, and I'd actually said it 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought he was primed for Rangers, and then the £1.5 million price tag went on him. That would be a wee test. I think he's a quality player. That'd be a test, you know, for the Rangers to see and let their fans know, is there £1.5 million to be thrown out there in any particular player? Because there's no doubt about it, he's got a bit of quality. But certainly, yeah, I think he will be a good player. Whoever got, he might be fancied down in England anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And one story that emerged today in Edinburgh that caught my eye was, you know, Paul Hanlon apparently attracting interest from Aberdeen, and then the agent says no, there's been nothing in this one. You know, you get to a point when you're a fan in the summer, you think, is somebody going, is somebody staying? You never really know.
No, but I think he in particular, now that you mentioned Aberdeen, you know, I think one of Aberdeen's failings last year was centre of midfield. You know, he's a young lad who's had international experience, and it might just be the time when he's going to just step up a bit.
Do you think he's going to play in midfield?
No, not midfield. I'd play him at the back.
Yeah.
You know, I'd play him at the back. I think he's got a lot of, he's one of these big lads, you know, who just strolls through the game. He's not a towering centre half, but he's certainly, he falls into a sort of I think a Mark Reynolds category.
Yeah, which is not what they need.
Well, if they're losing the goals that they are losing,
And so are Hibs.
yeah, I know, but Alan Stubbs has already said, you know, he's got his in place. But
I like it when there's just two of us, because no matter what you say, I've always got a chance to argue with you.
What I'm saying is, if they were to get X amount of pounds, Alan Stubbs might think that there's somebody out there who he could get. Maybe 2 players.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's going to have to build. I mean, he's not going to get Stokes, is he? I mean, let's be realistic. He's not going to get.
I'm interested for Liam Henderson.
He won't get Henderson, will he?
Well, I'm interested to see which way Liam Henderson's going to go. You know, I think he'll obviously enjoy
go back
the experience.
West.
Yeah, but I know if he goes back to Celtic, you know, what is there on the cards for him there?
It's a clean slate, isn't it?
Scott Allen can't get a game.
Yeah.
You've got the young boy for Inverness. You know, I think he's away down the pecking order. I think. With the success he had at Hibs, you know, and obviously winning the cup at the weekend, I think Alan Stubbs might just try to persuade him this is the place to be. Yeah,
isn't it interesting though that when we were looking at, you know, the type of money that's down south now? I was reading a quote on Twitter today from Alan Burrows, who obviously is working at Motherwell and knows what it's taking now to try and attract players. And when you see the figures that come out of the pot that was distributed to the teams in the Premiership, and of course the windfalls that are coming in, the parachute payments for even being a loser in the Barclays Premier League, he said it would take Motherwell 44 years to earn what Aston Villa did in one season. It's quite scary now, isn't it, for all of Europe, for everybody. We are about to be looking in on one of the richest playgrounds, and that brings its own problems for our own division here.
Certainly does. It brings problems for the players in particular. You know, everybody wants to earn a crust, you know, and obviously we're hearing that some clubs, we've heard that Motherwell are asking players to take a cut in wages, which is something you don't want to hear. But when players get to a certain age, they've got to decide that 2 years and actually earning money is better than at the end of it moving on and trying to find a club, because there's going to be so many players going to get released this year that it's going to be very, very difficult. Yeah,
and just one other little thing, that obviously the investigations are now going to gather pace with regards to the fallout from the Scottish Cup final. Ruffy, I think, you know, Fraser Wishart's comments in the papers today, I think, you know, again, an air of sense about this. The last thing you want now is fans coming onto the park and attacking players. That was the one really, you know, point of when the players were walking off, you started to see some of them being assaulted. I think in the next couple of weeks we're about to see CCTV footage really gather a bit of pace and police start to take action on that part of it. The flip side is I do not know what penalty, if anything, you know, Hibs or both clubs could face out of this one.
Yeah, I think we'll all have to wait and see. I think it'll take a long, long time. I think there was so much happened after the final whistle that it's going to take a long time to sit and look at every individual event and what happened there. There obviously is going to be punishments for both sides. We'll just have to wait and see what that is. It'd be a tragedy, I think, if Hibs were to get kicked out of Europe, which I hope won't happen. I hate things that punishments that hit a manager and the players for something that some of the supporters have done.
Yeah.
You know, I know that's the way it goes and always the way it is goes, but from a footballing point of view, it's a hard one to take.
I still think there's a hefty fine on the way, and I think lifetime banning orders, I think, are going to be appropriate as well, especially for, you know, some of the scenes. The more and more footage you see, the more and more it's disturbing about what happened after that final.
Yeah, and it's the repercussions as well. I mean, we're talking about bringing in standing areas now, you know, and I think we always think that's a good thing. You know, people will start to look at that kind of thing. They'll start to look at, do we allow drink?
Yeah.
I think that's an absolute goner. That is.
I was going to have to say to you, Ruffy, I think that one is dead in the water now. I don't think that will gather any pace whatsoever. The other thing I was going to say to you is, just to finish, Jose Mourinho undoubtedly will see the United scarf above his head. It's going to be change again. You know, they've spent a lot of money, Manchester United, and a payoff for Van Gaal, and now the pay-in for Mourinho.
I think this might be a really stupid statement.
Oh, don't worry about it. I've got them all here.
I think this is a testing time for Mourinho.
Yeah.
I think he's got to convince people that he is the special one now. just because of what happened at Chelsea. He's going to go in there, as you just said there, with a barrel load of money. But I think he's got a lot of Man United supporters that he's got to convince that he is the manager for Man United.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Ruffy. That's not as daft as it might sound from you.
No,
I think that's an air of sense that I don't really like to finish the programme on. But I think what he has to do is prove to them that he can put out a side that plays attacking, entertaining football the United way. You know, everybody talks about their way.
Yeah, but if his first signing is going to be the big man, I can't pronounce his name.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
That is an absolute starter. We talk about supporters wanting big players. That would be a great start for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you know, he'll arrive there as a legend, and who knows what happens when he leaves the place. You'll always get a good quote out of him. You'll always get a good quote out of Joey Barton as well. He signed on a 2-year deal from Rangers. That was our top story tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed the programme. From Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.